Well, hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. We are going through Philippians right now, and we've taken quite a break from Philippians. It was like almost 2 months off after the hurricane before I recorded anything, and I actually recorded the past 3 episodes of Philippians during the hurricane. But now we're back to recording, back in the studio, and back in prison here. You can see we got the prison, my window here, toilet over here, my bed behind me here. So I have this set up, and it's just a reminder because it's been like 2 months since we talked about this. This is set up as a constant reminder that when we're going through Philippians, we need to keep in mind that Paul wrote this while he was in prison. So just like I'm sitting here talking to you, Paul was sitting here writing this letter, okay? And there's a good chance he was dictating it to someone else. And we've talked about the benefits he had while he was in prison. He was like, it's a real blessing for me to be in prison. And we talked about those benefits of it and how it compares to like benefits of being through the hurricane. And both of those things. If you were to think, I was so blessed went through the hurricane, or I'm so blessed I was in prison. If you said that to somebody, they would think you're crazy, okay? But we looked at it here in Philippians, and there were blessings that came out of Hurricane Ian, and there were blessings that came out of Paul being in prison, okay? We're moving on today. We're in Philippians, and we're still in chapter 1. And today we're reading from Philippians chapter 1, verses 19 to 20. It's entitled, Is Christ Exalted in My Life and Death? Okay, that's a question for you. You need to answer. I'm going to read here today, and again, we're reading from the New International Version. I'm going to go back into verse 18 just a bit, and then continue all the way to verse 20. Okay? It says this, Yes, I will continue to rejoice, for I know that through your prayers and God's provision of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, what has happened to me will turn out for my deliverance. Really? Out of my deliverance? Now, you think, he's going to be delivered from prison. Not necessarily his deliverance from this life. I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have sufficient courage so that now, as always, Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or death. Okay? Paul is saying here, I pray that I have the courage to stand strong for Christ all the way through this trial of being in prison. And that this is the key thing here, this last sentence here. He says that Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or death. Okay, so that was Paul's concern, really, that his body would exalt Christ, whether he lived or whether he died. Okay, and it did. Okay, during Paul's life, he sure did exalt Christ, and then even in his death, he exalted Christ. Okay. He was remembered long after he was dead. We still remember him today of how he exalted Christ. Okay. I read this and I show this to you because it's a question you need to ask yourself. Okay. Am I exalting Christ in my life? Let's start with that. Are you exalting Christ in your life? If you're living for yourself, no, you're not exalting Christ in your life. You're exalting yourself. Okay, if you're smoking weed and living for yourself, using the money that you make all on yourself and living to please yourself, then you're pleasing yourself. You're exalting yourself. You're not exalting God. But if you're living to please God and to exalt God in my life, you have to ask, what am I doing that God is honored in my life? Okay. So hopefully my life reflects that as I live, people are going, he reflects Jesus in his life. Okay. So ask yourself that. Then also ask yourself, in my death, is Christ exalted? Okay. Now, in your death, after you die, some people in the past have been, when you died, they might say, I am so glad he's dead. He was just a pain in the neck while he was here on earth. And you're like, hopefully you're not that person, okay? But hopefully you're the person that when you die, there's great sorrow, but there's praise that you're in heaven. But sorrow because you're sorely missed because of the great benefit, what you were doing for the kingdom of God, okay? And you're sorely missed in reaching others for the kingdom. So it, on your tombstone, what's it going to say? Is it going to be like, oh, this is Todd. He had a fancy car, a nice house, and he lived for himself, and he lived to please himself? Or is it going to say, this is where Todd's body is? He's not here, but he lived to honor God, and even when he's dead, is still being remembered for honoring God. So those are the questions I have for you today. Is Christ exalted in my life and in my death? Okay. Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word as we're here in prison. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we step back into prison here again and continue our journey through Philippians. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.